Welcome to the Edge of Greatness podcast. The path to greatness is never linear and requires patience and consistency. Join us on our journey as we peel back the layers of success, searching for that elusive core. Each week we will explore a different component of greatness, utilizing experts who have traveled some part of the path that we are all on. We aim to uncover insights into the areas of leadership, coaching, performance, overcoming failure, the power of habits, and so much more. We are all on the edge of greatness. Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Edge of Greatness podcast. I'm your host, Charles Schultz, and today I have a very special guest with me. It is the head coach of the Grove City High School baseball team, Ryan Alexander. He has been the head coach there now for 12 seasons, accumulating 225 wins and sending 64 kids off to play in college, which is, for those of you at home that aren't very good at math, that's your entire infield every year going to play in college. So I'd say that's something that's pretty awesome and special. And it speaks to the culture and the way they do things over there. So today I've got him on to kind of talk a little bit about some of that and share his wisdom with those out there listening. So thank you for taking some time to speak with me and my guests.
Thanks, Coach Schultz, for having us.
Absolutely. So did you have a nice holiday?
Oh, yeah. Good time.
Yeah.
Thanksgiving, went and visited my brother down in Florida. And then over at the New Year, we went skiing for a couple of days up in Michigan with the kids.
Yeah. Nice. Get a little time away. So
yeah,
I imagine it's getting close to getting back to grind season here. So how's the preparation coming for the upcoming season right now?
Yes, and I'd say that's probably been the toughest part with all of this COVID is when are you allowed to work out, when you're not allowed to work out. So we've actually been shut down since Thanksgiving. So this is the first week our guys have been back together. So it is it's been unique, finding different ways to make sure that they're being accountable for each other. This is usually a time where our guys really feed off of all of our college guys back, and we're fortunate enough to have two guys playing in the pros right now. So,
yeah, no, that's that's obviously huge.
Yes, just making sure that having those guys back and working with all of our high school kids is critical for our program. So it's kind of been a challenging moment for that. We've been able to do some Zoom calls and Google Meets just to try to give them different ideas and nonstop communication with them on ways that they can continue to improve themselves.
Okay. Does it seem like they're hungry and ready to get back to work?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely think they are. It'll just be interesting to see because, we're bringing back, and I'm sure a lot of teams will be in the exact same boat. We're bringing back one kid that has varsity at bats, and then you aren't able to work with them for the last month and a half. This fall, we worked on our field a ton, working to put the new turf field in, and it is really going to be an immaculate place for, not only our kids, but for all the kids around the USCC to come and have a great place to play.
Yeah, no, I've been watching the updates on that. That's a pretty special facility you got going on over there. So that's pretty awesome. Well, actually, that kind of leads into the first part of this conversation that I want to have is, obviously with this year, it's being weird. They don't have the same contact, the same exposure that they usually do. Plus, you've got guys coming back, like you said, that don't have a lot of varsity experience. So with your program being what it is, I know when I was coaching at Central and always coming against you guys, we knew what we were going to get. We knew what to expect because the culture you built was that of gritty, determined, hard-nosed. We're going to play and we're going to be in every game, even if our talent is the most elite or just kind of in the middle this year. You put together winning mindsets and mentalities. And so talk to me a little bit about kind of the culture you've built over the last 12 years and how that's kind of come about for you.
Yeah, those were some great battles with those Pick Central teams too. I always had a blast with those guys, and some of those guys still come over here and work out all the time. Yeah, I love it. Just those bonds and those relationships we were able to build over those years with those guys has been amazing. Our big deal is is we just want to try to make sure we're putting work in. I think baseball is a big work sport. If you don't love to work and you don't love to get in the weight room and you don't love to take rep after rep after rep, I don't really know how you feel prepared to get in there and then battle somebody that has been. And in our conference, as well as I have, those games are every single day. I always said I would put the OCC Ohio in those days up against any public school conference in the state for sure.
Oh yeah.
Your Pick Central, Pick North, Gahanna, Lancaster got really good. Reynoldsburg, they used to be a powerhouse in the conference when I first came in, and they had a lot of guys, and then they've lately got really good again.
Yeah.
So it's always fun competing in that conference. I think our guys know what it takes, just from seeing our older guys come back. What helped us with my coaching career, let's just call it, early on, 2009, we had a great start my first coaching year. We had 4 or 5 guys that went on to play college baseball, play for 4 years. And, I always think that's a testament to a kid's characters, the ones that want to. Everybody says they want to play in college, but it's when you get there and then all of a sudden you have to find a way to figure out how to do this for 4 consecutive years, or some guys 5 years now with some of our COVID guys. So, I remember I went to college. We started with 26 kids in our class, and 2 of us finished. It was myself and a kid from old Pickerington before they even split. So, just dating my age right there.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I think that's a big thing, especially with a sport like baseball. I think it translates to life so much because it's a long game. There's no quick fix. There's no short term answer. It's like you said, consistency and reps, and the daily grind. And I don't like using the word grind because I feel like it's a negative, but you have to have that grit to want to put in work. And so, talk to me a little bit, kind of the things that you do on a daily basis to keep your kids engaged, so that they have that step by step process to the end.
Yeah, getting back to work this week. That's where we will head.
And we are back up. So you were talking about getting back to work this week?
Yeah. So like this week, it'll be the start of basically what we talked to the guys about was, we're 7-8 weeks out from this whole thing starting up and starting full practice. So it's going to be a whirlwind, but I think our guys through this situation that America has been thrown into over the last year with COVID, I think it's really mentally prepared our guys that I think they're ready to go at any moment now. And I think it has changed our mindsets on, understanding the big picture, and, it's making sure you're taking care of loved ones, and, if you have older people in your family, making sure you're being responsible. So, I think it has really put a lot of perspective into some high school kids that probably never happened to us for 10 years, coaching other groups of kids.
Oh yeah. This is definitely some of the most adversity I feel like I've ever seen, for how much it's disrupted, normal life and sports and their culture, and just how much it's got that ripple effect across the board for us. So, yeah, it's definitely one of those wake up calls for sure. So, so talk to me a little bit about some of the stuff that you kind of direct your kids to do that's maybe outside of baseball that is aimed towards, I guess, integrating them into what you want them to become as far as on the field, but like without the skill acquisition, you know what I'm talking about? So like,
yes.
Do you have them do some team building or anything of those natures, or like, I don't know, I've seen other coaches do like where they have to get up and do presentations and stuff like that, but just kind of give me some of what you're working with those things.
Yeah, so we have done those in the past. We haven't done them this year yet, just because it's been such a challenging time on making sure we're staying 6 feet apart and different items like that. But every single day in the weight room, we try to bring some lesson. We try to bring some talk of daily life living, things that are going to be way more important than baseball.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we have 2 guys that are continuing to play baseball, and 150, 200 kids that we've coached. So that are living everyday lives and going to work every day. And some of the kids, some of those guys have now been married, so there have to be a husband. A couple of them have had kids now, so being a dad. So all those things are being thrown into our program that have never been before. So
Right.
we're finally the age in our program where some of that stuff's starting to happen.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually kind of fun though, because you get to see them coming back and they're bringing their kids to watch. And
Yeah, and I will say this about our guys: we have 27 guys that are out playing right now. 24 of them, I think, are going to end up playing this spring, and they're always back around our program. So our guys see them in the summer, in the winter, and just being able to be around those guys, what the program meant to them. But then again, in the spring, all of a sudden, there'll be 10 or 12 guys that were our 13 and 14 guy on our team that probably played 10 or 15 innings in a season that still come back to our program because they know how much our program meant to them. And it wasn't even based on innings and being all conference and trying to go to college and play. It was about them just becoming a better person.
Yeah, I love that. I think that's the ultimate testament of what you're building over there, is the fact that even if you weren't the star or the standout guy on the team, you still want to come be a part of that program, because you've seen obviously other programs where if you're not playing right away or you're not the starter, then you like contemplating quitting or you don't even come back around when you're done. And I think that's a special thing that you got going on over there for sure.
And I know how many guys we always have in that dugout. So
yeah, it's a little intimidating, that's for sure. We got the playoff roster there every single day.
It'll be interesting to see if they try to put a cap on us this year with the COVID numbers.
Yeah, I didn't even think about that part. That's that'll be an interesting thing to work with for sure. So, you mentioned a little bit about like sharing the big picture and the vision stuff. I was actually listening to a book the other today by John Gordon. He was talking about within a program carrying with you a telescope and a microscope. And I feel like that big picture thing that you're talking about is one of the big pieces of how you keep kids motivated. But what do you do as far as when it gets tough in the moment? How do you bring it back down to that microscopic level? Do you do anything in particular with that?
I honestly think that a lot of that, like you're talking about that microscopic piece, it's tough to do unless you build those relationships early. I'm a huge John Gordon guy. To me, a lot of my coaching goes back to the guys that, helped develop me as a kid. I grew up, I didn't really, my real dad really wasn't present in my life. So, I was able to use coaches as other dads in my life. I told myself as a sophomore in college or a sophomore in high school, one day, whenever someone tells me I can't play baseball or basketball anymore, I'm going to have to get a job, and I definitely want to teach and coach. And I've known that for a long time. It's, to me, if you can gain that piece where you can communicate with kids, and then when that moment hits the fan, it's a lot easier to get in and talk with them, work through it, find different ways, because our guys know, not just myself, there's numerous coaches on our staff that have our guys back any hour of the day. And we're kids first, way before baseball. Grades, attitude, how you treat your mom. We're big on that way before baseball. I always tell our parents at the first meeting we have every year, hey, if your kid ever back talks you, tells them your phone, get away from their phone or anything like that, like those things are yours. And if they don't want to respect you, call me and I will gladly make them run for days until they figure it out. So it's all about just being a team. We use our players, our parents, our community, and just what we've been able to do with even the turf project, just a full community rally on finding a better way for our kids.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like it's more about the family, about the life that you're creating for these kids than the sport, and the sport's just the way to, hammer home some of those pieces, like and I know that in baseball, you're going to fail, you're going to struggle, you're going to have to go through
yeah.
adversity, and that translates to what you're going to have to deal with in the real world. And I mean, that's why I love the game so much, is because you get to experience as a child playing a game what it's like to be an adult in real life.
I think exactly what you just hit on.
Yeah.
It's why baseball's my favorite game. You know, it's such a mental challenge. On one day you could be top of the world, and then the next week you strike out 3 or 4 times and think life's going to end. So you have to deal with adversity all the time in this game, and it's just a great developer for kids, for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So you mentioned a lot of the kids that come back. So what do you do with those guys when they come home? Do you still try to work with them as a coach, or at that point is it more of a like a friend relationship going forward from there?
I mean, we definitely will. Like I actually built a barn at my house that a lot of our guys, they train here all the time. So my college guys are always back around. I'll still pitch to them, flip to them,
Nice.
Talk with them. But we also use that as a moment to really try to gain their expertise and what they're learning and what are you doing different, and picking brains. And one of my favorite kids that I've coached, well, I mean, he's one of the most successful, is Mike Myers. He pitches for the Angels. But I tell every kid in our program, even little kids at baseball camp, the greatest thing I think about Mike was, you know, as a sophomore, we knew he was going to be special. Division I coaches started calling me. But if you came over to our practice once and said, hey, I saw how you're throwing your curveball, I think if you tried this, it might work. And he would honestly give it a try. And for someone that had the success level that he did, that was willing to try other things and pick people's brains, and just honestly give someone a chance that, you know, that maybe other high school kids I know would have never given a chance to. You know, I could definitely see where he has made his headway in being able to, and just in the last year, he found a new pitch. You know, we're 6 years into his pro career, and
Right.
he's found a new pitch. So just that continually wanting to learn and adapt your game is something that we try to hone in on all the time. When our guys are working, you know, I learned this from a college coach once, and he told me, one of our guys played for him, and he goes, I go to the field and I see him working all the time, like during early work. But he goes, I just don't know what he's working on. And it kind of really struck home to me, of making sure every time I see our guys working, I'll just give them a quick question like, hey, what are you working on? So we try to make sure our guys know that everything that they're doing is intentional, and have a plan when you go to work, have a plan when you go to work out. And in developing those plans, I think you really start to develop your mindset on what it's going to take to be successful.
That's perfect. I love that, because and the reason I built this podcast and I'm trying to do this stuff is because we see these people have this great success, but we don't fully understand what it takes to be that person. Like, we all like see these guys who are at the top of their game and like, man, I want to be like that guy. And every kid wants to be that next, you know, LeBron James or Michael Jordan or whoever your favorite players are. But those guys do it different. And I loved hearing the story about Mike, because, you know, like you said, he was gifted. He had skills that were there, but he was still so coachable, and he was constantly working, you know, and to be striving to be better all the time is a difficult thing to do. But that's what the great ones do. They don't settle for, okay, I made it this far and that's good now.
Yeah.
And then they don't take a back seat. They go, okay, what's the next step? And I feel like that's kind of the thing that I'm getting from your program, even like, you know, the little guy, the guys who watch the older guys work, then they show up the next year and they're like, all right, it's my turn now. I'm going to continue that legacy and pass it forward.
I actually think what you just hit on is another big piece of, in some of our Zoom meetings and our talks, we've had all these college kids on and we've had kids from Division I, Division II, Division III, kind of talk about each one of their levels and what that looks like, but then also the work that goes in. And it is funny because even myself, if there's anything that anyone that's ever played in college, they come back and say is, man, I wish I would have worked out different in high school. Man, I wish I would have hit the weights a little bit more.
Oh yeah.
Not one of our guys has ever said, that went to college like, I worked out too much when I was in high school and didn't change my body enough and didn't eat right. So just getting those guys to understand that, and until you get to that next level, sometimes those kids will never fully understand what that work looks like. But we're continually working at it and trying to develop those just that competitive mindset to that and how they approach things every day.
Yeah, I mean the consistency of work now will definitely make that transition to the next level easier, because obviously as you move up, everyone who goes up with you is the same as you were, and I think that's hard for kids to understand, is like they were the top of their team because obviously you moved on to the next level. You were the guy, even if there was multiple guys on your team that went on, you were still the guy or one of the guys. And then you get to the next level and everybody who's in your class was the guy. And you got to continue that mindset of never being satisfied and constantly working and doing that stuff. So I think having the college guys on the Zoom call, that's pretty awesome. So when you get a chance to sit down and have a moment to yourself and you're starting to think about like future stuff for your team, how do you go about gaining new information or new stuff to implement, and what's kind of your go-to when it comes to continuing to grow and develop for yourself as a coach?
I am an avid Twitter guy, and I'm an avid Twitter guy because I absolutely love just following people that I think on the same lines as you do. And right now it's a political mess out there. I can always get on and follow some coaches and some guys that I follow in college. And, John Gordon does stuff daily that's absolutely amazing and spot on with how I truly want to lead, myself, my family, our program, and just finding ways like that to nonstop keep developing your brain. And I think there's a lot of old guys out there that have told me, like, once you think you know it all, you've stopped learning and you stop getting better. So I've never ever been a guy that says this is the way you have to do it. This is the way that it must be done. We'll give our guys a framework to build around, but then I want you to own it. And I give lessons to kids that hit in my barn and stuff, and I always tell them, I'll figure a way to make you hit in this barn from throwing to you from 20 feet away, 30 feet away, flipping from you for 5 feet away. We'll find a way for your swing to look good. But at some point, it has nothing to do with how you're going to compete and do things when you get in that box in a real game and that kid's 60 feet away from you and he's angry and he wants to get you out. And, what's your mindset going to look like?
That right there, I think hits kind of how I coach too. And I love that because I had that same conversation with a number of my hitting clients like recently about, look, your swing looks great in here. Mechanically, you're fine, but it's not about mechanics when you go head to head with somebody. It's about timing and understanding what your adjustments are and being able to take the swing. And I love the own it part because I think too many kids are always looking to the sideline to mommy and daddy or the coach. And what do I do?
Yeah.
I'm not in the game. You figure it out. I mean, this is your chance. Yeah. Show me that what we've been talking about and learning is something you can apply.
Yeah. And just looking back at the way I played, like I don't even teach a lot of that stuff on how I just found a way to compete in the moment, and I was never told any of that. I never had a lesson, like we just figured it out on, I got to do this in order to be successful if I want to keep playing. And you found those different niches and different ways that allowed you to be successful.
Yeah, I think sometimes we need to step back as coaches from the teaching aspect and just let them learn to be competitive, learn to adapt and adjust. And and continue to take the learning habits and apply them for themselves. And I think that's where you see that big growth where somebody goes, oh, okay, so it doesn't have to always look pretty. It doesn't always have to look this way. I can do it a certain way, or I can make an adjustment and it still works out. And I think that's something that you just nailed the nail on the head with.
Yeah, we show like 3 pictures every year to our guys, and probably 3 of the biggest hits in Grove City history. There's a hit in the district championship. There's a hit when we won the regional, and one of my favorites is a bomb that we hit in a 3-3 tie in the 7th inning, a grand slam in the regional final against Westerville Central, and this kid's back foot just flips. It just flips. Like, he doesn't get it through at all. He doesn't get any back knee slam. He doesn't lock his front knee out. Yeah. But he just found a way to get the barrel to the right spot at the right time. And it was probably the biggest hit ever.
Oh, yeah. That gave me chills just listening to the situations. Oh, yeah. I was like, oh, man, here we go.
That was probably the craziest inning I've ever been a part of. We thought that team was really, really good at Westerville Central. We go 3-3 tie with them in the 7th. We go grand slam, bomb, double, bomb. End up winning 10-3. And this place was going nuts. And it was just a great experience for our kids to be in.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think anytime you put a kid in a situation where there's some pressure and a little bit of, chance of failure, you have an opportunity to see them grow and grow up. And that's, that's like we've been talking about this whole time, is what it's all about, is growing up for life. And you don't grow up without facing difficult moments and difficult challenges. So talk to me a little bit about some of the stuff you do in the weight room setting. I love, obviously for me, the weight room is a big thing because I own a gym and it's where I spend a lot of my time and working with athletes and stuff like that. How do you get them to be accountable for themselves, to push each other? What's some of the things that you do in those settings, in that aspect?
Yeah, that's a continually evolving picture for us. And, I read as much as I can. I listen to as many videos as I can. We have a guy in our program, Mike Myers. His brother-in-law is a strength and conditioning coach at Kansas State. So our coaches are always picking his brain on different things we can do in the weight room. He's their baseball strength and conditioning guy. Okay. My first cousin, he's a strength and conditioning guy at Wake Forest. So just nonstop trying to develop myself, because you're right. Like, I don't have a degree in that. And I think there's so many high school coaches that are thrown into that, like, we have to create these workouts. It's important. It's important to change bodies if you're going to be successful, and pushing these kids to the max if they're going to reach their potential. But some of them just not capable. And, first off, I'm not certified to do it, but we're thrust into those situations where, it's honestly, I'm actually surprised in the year 2020 that we're actually still allowed to do this, but we'll save that for another talk.
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, I find it interesting though, how difficult it is sometimes to be a high school coach. People don't understand, like, it's not just about the game. Like you said, the training aspect of it is crucial. It's the critical piece that, in my opinion, links the people who become collegiate players and those who just have good high school careers. Because if you don't develop yourself as an athlete, as a player, and physically, like, all those things have to match up to make it to the next level. Yet they throw you into this situation and they're like, here, go teach these kids how to do something. And I feel like that's one of the areas that we really miss out on in a lot of programs, because they don't have the connections that you do. That's pretty awesome to have those people in your corner to help build the foundation with that. But not everyone's that lucky, and they get stuck with,
and that's the piece of it, is we're continually evolving that. And there were things we probably did with our guys 10 years ago in the weight room that, yourself or a few of these other strength guys would be like, what were you guys thinking? But we were going in there with an approach of what is best for these kids at that moment. And, I just think with that and everything, with in life, you know, nonstop, the pitching games changing, how you do that. Are you a weighted ball guy? Are you not? With the hitting mechanics. You know, I've seen 3 different revolutions of how you should hit
Yeah.
since I've been coaching in 12 years. So I just think there's so much of that,
Hmm.
and so much of it is cyclical. Like it just comes back eventually of some sort,
Yeah. Yeah.
and we continue to tweak it. And um, we have 2 guys that kind of lead our weight program now. Tyler Kent, he played for us. He was on a couple of our great teams, 10, 11, and 12. Played at Otterbein, was an All-American there, got drafted by the Phillies. He kind of leads our weight room now, and is really, you know, wanted that,
Hmm.
grabbed it, and he's done a great job with it. We got another assistant coach, Matt Stokes. When he's able to be with us, he's another awesome weight room guy and technique
Yeah.
guy that we're able to lean on. But again, I do feel for a lot of those coaches that maybe don't have the resources we do, or don't have the amount of coaches that we do, and they're stuck doing everything. So, you know, I was in that boat for 8 to 10 years on creating our fall workout, creating our winter workout, our spring. What do we want to keep doing in the springtime? So I know how challenging that is for a lot of programs, for sure.
Oh yeah, definitely. And you hit it right. I mean, like the thing of the training world is it's always changing, and just like everything else, if you're not continuously trying to learn, like we talked about earlier, you're going to get yourself stuck in the past. And for me, I mean, honestly, you said there were things 10 years ago I'd look at and be like, oh my God, what were you doing? But there's things I was doing 10 years ago that I look back and go, oh my God, what was I doing? So it's definitely something that you have to grow with, just like everything else. And if you're not willing to evolve and you're not willing to adapt, that's when you get stuck. And that's when you find yourself not helping kids and not helping move things forward. So, I mean, I think that's just the way it's going to always be, but it's good that you're constantly looking to add pieces and change and adapt. And I think that's the biggest piece of it all. So,
Yeah.
I guess the last thing I really want to talk about is, when it comes to like our sport. I mean, I mentioned it earlier. It's a failure sport. It's a sport that's going to test your mental abilities and make you frustrated. Is there anything that you do or utilize to help kids overcome the failure that's inevitable? It's going to happen. Because I
Yeah.
find that a lot of people, they don't understand that when they start to fail, that's a good thing. That they're close to success. And I'm always looking for ways to add to my repertoire of things to say to kids and things to do when you see them start to struggle because you're pushing them outside their I can do
Yeah.
this boundaries. So
And that is something that we really gear everything we do. We try to just compete,
mhm,
just learn to compete. And I think that's the hardest thing, especially in today's age where, probably 50% or better of our team are one sport guys.
yeah,
And I try to tell our guys, like, hey, I don't know that anybody truly wants to hang out with me, TK, the rest of our coaching staff all year. Like, it's probably not going to be in the best interest of yourself. So find a way, go compete, go do something. Some of our best kids, Mike was a 3-sport guy.
yeah,
TK was a 2-sport guy. One of our best shortstops ever, he was a 3-sport guy. And I always think that those guys just knew how to compete.
mhm,
Sure, they missed some times where we were hitting in the cages and getting an extra 50, 100 balls, or maybe ramping up their arm a little bit more where they could have a chance in the off season. But those guys always found a way to get working as well.
mhm,
I always tell some of our guys, like, hey, if you think you're going to be a basketball player and that's what you kind of want to write your name on, if we get off the bus after we play 6 games in a week and you're not going to be able to shoot and don't find a way to get into some gym and get some shots up, you're not going to be a basketball player. So that's just kind of my mentality on it.
mhm,
Or like that guy that wants to be a football linebacker.
right,
Like, if we can only get in 2 or 3 lifts this week, it's probably not going to change your body enough for what you want to do. So you have to find a way to go work out somewhere in the morning, or
mhm,
when we get off the bus, you're going to have to go to the Y or whatever that may be to reach your goals.
Yeah. No, that's hands down. That's absolutely the truth of it all, is that if you want to be really good at something, you have to give it time. And so many people get stuck in well, I don't have time. Well, I mean, you probably just watched 3 episodes of something on Netflix, so I'm sure you got some time somewhere. I mean,
exactly.
Let's figure out what's important.
How many hours have you played Xbox this week?
Right. The new PS5's out, so let's get wild, right?
Yeah.
So, no, I love the compete thing. I think that's a crucial piece, because I think if your mindset's on competing, you're not really focused on the outcome, and that's where so many people get stuck, is they see an outcome and they look at the negative side of the outcome and they lose track of the process.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it for us comes in the weight room. You know,
okay.
That building of failure, and you know, we'll push them to the max, and we always try to do some competitions at the end. Like, I don't know, maybe it's even a vertical jump. It's pulls, it's hangs, it's who can walk the farthest around the courts with the 2 plates in their hands.
Yeah.
Finger tests. Just different things every day where we try to get them to compete.
Mm-hmm.
And as a young kid, that freshman is like, what am I got myself into? And it's hard for those young kids.
Mm-hmm. But
the ones that stick with it figure out that, you don't have to win it, but let's just try our best and compete.
Right.
I think you start to see some of that confidence work its way into the baseball game. And you weren't doing anything baseball at all. But I think it's a huge piece for those kids.
Yeah, and then I think it also teaches the consistency, because the kids who are probably winning most of those things are the ones who are there every time.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have a guy who just randomly shows up one week and then wins all the competitions. That doesn't happen. Like, that's not how it works. So
we've even tried to break it down to like where we have winners from all 4 levels. Give me a senior winner, give me a junior, give me a sophomore, give me a freshman. So they can then compete against maybe some kids their own age and start to develop that success.
Which is awesome too. Yeah, for sure. Well, I don't want to take too much more of your time, but I do want to throw out there, if any of my listeners would like to reach out, connect, share some thoughts with you, do you have a Twitter, Instagram, email, Facebook, anything you want to share? Go ahead and throw that out there now. And I'll put it in the show notes.
My Twitter is Coach A8. It's my Twitter handle. My email is Ryan, RYAN, .Alexander @swcsd.us. That's for Southwestern City Schools District.us. And I think, to me, I'm always willing to help out younger coaches and youth coaches, because 12 years ago I was picking the brains of a lot of the guys that I looked up to, Tim Saunders and Stephen Gussler, late Stephen Gussler at Thomas Worthington, one of my favorite guys to compete against.
That's my guy right there.
No doubt.
That's who I played for in high school. So.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yep.
Loved Coach Usman at Jerome. So just always picking those guys on way that they did things in their programs, how they updated their facilities. That was always something I was willing to do, is not be afraid to pick up the phone and ask those guys, what they did to be successful.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome.
Back when I first moved to Columbus, and I had to then MapQuest their address to figure out how to get to their school, because we didn't have this stuff on our phone.
I remember that. You print out the big old paper and you're like, okay, we got to turn right on. What exit is that?
Exactly.
Driving in circles trying to figure out your way to the second Dublin school that was hidden behind some random street.
I coached basketball for the first 8 years I was teaching as well. And I literally had a binder of MapQuests to every school or city league school that I had to go recruit or scout. So got to know my way around Columbus really quick.
Yeah. Nowadays you don't even have to know anything. You just type it in your phone. You're good to go.
Exactly.
All right. Well, thank you so much for spending time with us today. We appreciate you having you on. That is all for today's episode. As always, keep reaching for the stars, fall flat on your face. But remember, whenever we fall, always get up. Thank you for joining us today on the Edge of Greatness podcast. We hope you enjoyed today's episode and join us again next time as we continue to dig deeper into the key components of greatness. The path to greatness is never linear, so remember to keep pursuing greatness no matter what. Keep stretching your abilities, reach for the stars, and fall flat on your face. But no matter what happens, remember, whenever we fall, always get up. Until next time, I'm Charles Schultz, and this was the Edge of Greatness podcast.